Okay. Okay.
All right. So now the thing is to remember is that the limit as x approaches plus or minus infinity, doesn't matter the direction, of any number over x to any power is always 0. As long as n is positive. It's like x to the 1, x squared, x to the 4th, x to the 3/2, which means that the parts in red here, let me kind of color code it. These two go to 0 because of this over here on the right.
Okay.
Like
So
if
that
you were to
means
if
all
you
of
were
it.
to graph 4 over x squared, it would look like this. It would go to 0. 1 over x also goes to 0. You had a question. Sorry for interrupting you.
No, it's okay. So does that mean that the answer is 0?
No, it means that just this
Okay.
part goes to 0. So it's the square root of 1 plus 0 over 4 plus 0.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So it's 1 over 4.
And kind of mentioned that to you when we were doing this the first time, that you can kind of see that, like, you know, there's a 4 there and there's a 1 there. I would be careful with that though.
Okay.
Any follow up to that or?
I think that's good. I think I understand it better. Yeah. I know what you mean. Okay.
Okay. So what's interesting here is like the next question you sent over, we didn't, I don't remember doing anything like this with you. Maybe you were
Okay.
you didn't sneak it in, but this is like a totally different question than anything we've done.
Okay.
It's not like it's impossible or anything. It's just, is that, do you remember that from your class? Like, did they throw in questions you hadn't seen before?
Um, I mean they put in like similar questions, but they like change for I don't know. I think we did something like this, but we only did one,
Okay.
and it was a while
So
ago.
the displacement here, we can get in a really long conversation about displacement, but the short of it is you're going to find s of 3 and subtract s of 0. The reason it's 3 and 0 is because those are the endpoints there.
Okay.
So I'll leave it up to you if you want to do that. S of 3 means to put 3 in for t. It's 3 to the power of 3 minus 9 times 3 squared plus 27 times 3. The 0 is a bit easier. It's 0 cubed minus 9 times 0 squared plus 27 times 0, which is 0.
Okay. For the first one I got 27. Or did I put that in wrong?
I think
No,
it's negative 27. No, I'm sorry. I have missed. It is positive. I have the wrong sign. That was good. So the second one, everything is 0. So it'd be 27 minus 0. And it's, I guess it's your decision if you want to, I guess we can do the other parts, but
yeah, sorry, give me 1 second.
I mean, I know that, I guess the next one though is average velocity for part A.
Sorry, I was looking for the question on the thing. Um, sorry. Oh my gosh. I have so many tabs open. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's standard now. We just keep them open.
Yeah. Um, Could you go over it?
Yeah, so the average velocity, sometimes written v bar, it's s of 3 minus s of 0, which we already have, over 3 minus 0, like that. And so we've already got it, which, it's 27 minus 0 over 3 minus 0. It ends up being 9.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then for the t equals 0, are we just plugging in 0 for t in the original equation?
Well, we already did that. Yeah, we already did s of 0. But like we already calculated that here. And same with s of 3. Are you asking about part B?
Part C.
We haven't done part B yet.
Oh, okay.
So that the thing I did is part of that. So speed is derivative. Speed, it's derivative v. V is the derivative, so it's 3t squared minus 18t plus 27. Now, what I'm not sure of, because this isn't written clearly, speed ends up being the absolute value of velocity, so it ends up being the absolute value of this. Now, it might be positive anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe not.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So now when it says at the endpoints, that means v of 3. So 3 times 3 squared minus 18 times 3 plus 27. And then you also define v of 0, which is 3 times 0 squared minus 18 times 0 plus 27. So I think 27. Yeah, I think the first one is 0, and that's 27.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I got.
And then the acceleration is the derivative of v, 6t minus 18. So you have to find a of 3 and a of 0. 6 times 3 minus 18. 6 times 0 minus 18 is negative 18. And acceleration can be negative. That's okay. It's
Mm-hmm.
speed that is always positive. Like when you're driving your car, your speed is always positive, whether you're moving forwards or backwards.
Right.
Okay. The last part C, you probably didn't realize there was so much to this question. That's why I asked, because we've not done anything like this.
Mm-hmm.
This asks you to figure out where the derivative, or v, 3t squared minus 18t plus 27, you need to figure out where this is equal to 0 to determine the critical points. And then
Okay.
you're looking for what's called sign changes. So to do this, you would factor out a 3 from everything, t squared minus 6t plus 9. And then you factor this to t minus 3 squared. So if you don't remember how to factor this, or you don't want to try, you could always graph this and figure out where it equals 0.
Uh-huh.
So the problem here, though, is when you build this number line, this sign chart starting at 0 to 3, the critical point's right there at 3, which means like there's no critical points in between. And the velocity is always positive in this interval. We didn't do anything like this, so if this isn't clear, just keep that in mind. There are no sign changes, which means that it does not switch directions. So think about yourself when you are driving. If you imagine you're in your driveway, and I'm going to draw it horizontally just to. So if you're in your car and you're going this way, and assume that's positive, and you stop, okay, and
Uh-huh.
then you're over here on the right. I'm going to draw this different color. And then you go backwards, which is negative. Have you changed directions?
Yeah.
You have. Well, let's say in the same scenario, again, long driveway here, here's your car. You go to the right, and then you go to the right again. Have you changed directions?
No.
So you're looking for these sign changes in the derivative, and you don't have any.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, so that's whatever that is, that's whatever that question is. The next one here, a lot of review questions.
Yeah, they
All
give
right,
us 2 quizzes and they're both 60 questions and you have
oh
to
my
do that.
gosh.
You take
Wow.
the mid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't envy you guys as students anymore. It's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. So the kind of a rewrite might be in order here, x to the 1/8, secant x plus 4. So the easy thing here is the derivative of a constant on the right here. What is the derivative of a constant?
It's nothing, like it's
0,
0.
yeah. Now, and here, this is going to be product rule, f and g. F is x to the 1/8, g is secant x. Now, did you figure out if you're going to get a cheat sheet, reference sheet, any
I
sort of,
don't remember getting one, so I think
okay.
I have to memorize it.
I
Yeah.
mean, I would bring something, just in case, like
Mhm.
maybe you find out, like, I don't know,
Yeah,
I'm big on,
I'll email her after this. She's a really quick email her.
okay,
Email her. So I'll ask
yeah.
her.
So you remember the derivative of the first one?
It would be, yeah, that's a positive 1/8. So 1/8 x to the, oh gosh.
And do you get a calculator?
Yeah, I have a calculator.
Okay, like you don't, for me, I don't care, but like make sure you're comfortable using it, don't get the test and, not charged, all that stuff. And I'm sorry, unless I'm like a parent, but it's a big deal. We got a big test coming
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, I always have it charged. 1/8 to x to the 7/8.
-7/8, yeah,
Yeah.
good. And then do you remember the derivative for secant?
Hold on. It's secant x tan x. Yeah.
Secant x, tangent x, good. Okay, so the derivative of this is f prime g plus fg prime. Product rule you got to know, quotient rule you got to know, chain rule you got to know. You got to know them all. So it's and the order they appear doesn't really like matter because you're adding. You can flip it a little bit. So
Mhm.
you're basically pairing them up diagonally. So it's 1/8 x to the -7/8 secant x plus x to the 1/8 secant x tangent x.
I took calculus at a different community college before Rio Salado, and they gave us like a formula sheet, but I don't know, we asked a lot of doesn't. I'm just gonna have to ask.
I mean, maybe just find one that you like on the internet and just bring it in and just, sometimes it's better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Yeah. Okay. I got it.
All right, great. So let's take a look at. All right, so new problem here. So you have to know the derivative of sine inverse. Okay. So could you tell me that? Could you look that one up?
Yeah. Um, is it u or x prime over square root of 1 minus x squared?
So did you say X on top?
Yeah.
So that's kind of right. Like all of these have a chain rule component. So it's almost like you got to treat it like there's a U and a U and then it's times U prime,
Mm-hmm.
because this inside part is the U.
Okay.
And that's like critical because it affects the derivative, this chain rule part. And if that's not clear, then
Yeah.
um now that's why I asked if I don't know what you're looking at. There's actually it's a 1 on top. So I just want to make sure you're looking at the right thing. I'm happy to send over that reference sheet again, but this is the one I'm looking at. Let's snip it in here. See, that's a
Yeah.
1 on top. Okay.
I just found that one.
All right. So just be comfortable with whatever you're going to use. So in your problem here, it's y equals sine inverse u, and u is the square root of 13. Okay, this is very deceptive. See how it's just the square root of 13 times t?
Mm-hmm.
So the derivative of u prime here, is actually just the square root of 13. It's the constant in front of the variable.
Can you
I'm going to
explain
take
that?
your silence that maybe you don't
Oh,
like that, or like if I said like u equals 5x, you know that u prime is 5. Maybe
okay.
what you're bothered by is, well, there's a square root, isn't that powerful? It is, but it's just a number.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so the derivative is 1 over square root 1 minus u squared times u prime. Then you gotta backfill all this stuff. So it's 1 over square root 1 minus square root of 13t squared times square root of 13.
And I can't remember, will they accept that in here?
You said it was going to be multiple choice. They will be simplified if that is still the case. So it's square root of 13 in the top. In the bottom here, when you square the square root of 13, that becomes just the number underneath. When you square the t, it becomes t squared. So that becomes 1 minus 13t squared. And this is how it would be presented in a multiple choice answer.
Yeah, it did that. This one's a
Yeah,
home.
so
Oh,
so homework, yeah, homework you could leave messy.
yeah.
So we're on to the next one. Linearization. Okay. Linearization is like tangent lines. It's almost exactly
Mhm.
the same as tangent lines. So you would think tangent line, you need two things for a tangent line. You need a point and a slope. I usually do the slope first. I mean, you can do the point first. The point comes from putting a back in for f. So it's almost like x equals 2. You know, x equals a, x equals 2. F of 2 is 2 times 2 cubed plus 5 times 2 plus 1. 2 cubed is 16 times 2 is 32 plus 5 times 2 is 10. So we got 43 maybe.
Okay, so we plug it in. Okay.
That gets you your point. Your point is 2 comma 43.
Okay.
Right. So now for the slope, you need to take the derivative. So why don't you help here? Tell me the derivative of this function, please.
6x squared plus 5.
Very good. Okay. Now you have to put that 2 into the derivative as well, because you need the slope at a point. So it's 6 times 2 squared plus 5. 2 squared is 4. 6 times 4 is 24 plus 5 is 29. Sometimes the numbers get kind of large, which is the case here. So the linearization formula, it's maybe more complicated than you think, but it uh f of a, which is the 43, plus f prime of a, that's the 29, times x minus a is the 2. So this is like something to remember or write down.
Okay.
So you're looking at 43 plus 29 times x minus 2, like that.
Okay. And do I simplify that?
You do not have to.
Okay.
It will take that as is.
Okay.
So these are, let's see here. All right, I guess so we have to do this in pieces. All right. All right, so graph 1 minus x squared when x is not -1. So, and then when x is -1, the actual output is 1. So the only like ones that are reasonable, or let me tell you why C is not reasonable. C has 2 dots there. That's why it's not reasonable. And B has 2 open circles. That's also not reasonable. So it's either A or D. And the only difference between them is that on A, the open circle's in the parabola, and on B, the open circle's above the parabola. So this the second point is always the filled in dot. It's filled in at -1 comma 1. So that's why A is the correct answer. If you were to zoom in on that, you would see that's filled in there.
Okay.
Is that okay so far?
Yeah.
All right, so to do part B, I need to grab the correct graph, and then we can look at the questions here. All right, so find the limit as of f of x as x approaches -1. So here's -1 from the left, right? Remember that language, from the left,
Mm-hmm.
from the right, So from the left, like what does it approach there? What's the Y value there? And if you're not sure, you have to go back to the equation. Like what
Um,
happens when X is -1 here? If you can't tell from the graph, or you're not sure of the Y value from the graph, what do you see?
wouldn't it be, it would be 0.
It would be 0. Yeah, so this is 0. How about from the right as you approach -1 from the right? Like you're going to Phoenix from Tucson. Some people come from Flagstaff. You know, like we got to think about, you know, directions here from the left. And this maybe that's a bad analogy, but you know, the directions here. So what's the Y value coming from the other direction?
0.
It's also 0. So now when it asks in part C, because I'm assuming B is like boxes. When it asks in part C, does the limit exist? Well, it exists if it's the same from the left
Mm-hmm.
and from the right.
Okay. So it's the one that says yes, it exists. It's 0.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions on that?
No.
Okay. All right, next question here. We'll start with the graph. So to do part A, same thing here. You got to find the limit from the left and the limit from the right. So this first one's here is 3 with the plus means from the right. From the right means you're going this way. What is the Y value there?
I put in 4, but it keeps on saying it's wrong.
It doesn't like 4 there.
I keep on, I don't know why I put in 4 and it says it's wrong. Let me try it again. It says it's 4.25. Okay, that's fine. It just, maybe it's because it's like right above it. That's okay.
I don't know. It looks like,
4,
yeah.
4 and it's.
Oh, no, it's not. Okay, I'm sorry. Then now I get it. So normally you do just look at the graph, but they do give you an equation. So
Mhm.
we need to put 3 into this equation. So it's 3 times 3/4 plus 2. 9/4 plus 2 is 4.25. That's why it's not taking it.
That's fine. Yeah, okay.
Is that everything for that one? I can't
It
tell.
wants the limit as x approaches 4 from the left and the right, just like with the
Okay.
third.
So to do 4, because you're over in this other curve, you just use the same
Mm-hmm.
You just use the bottom one there. 3 times 4 over 4 plus 2 ends up being 5. So it'll be 5 from the left and 5 from the right.
Okay, now it's done. Sorry, with so many parts.
Are there more parts?
No more parts. Yeah, that was the last one.
Okay. The next question I hear is this question 10.
Yeah, I think I was just getting mixed up with the numbers, and I just wanted to make sure that it
This
was,
one right here.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I see what, so the, you have to put this in for, X. So it's f of 6 plus h minus f of 6 all over h. Now, you don't need to do this though.
Okay.
You need to take a derivative.
Okay.
What's the derivative?
2x.
And you put 6 in for x.
Okay.
Because this right here is called the definition of the derivative. It's great, it's great when you're learning calculus and you want to know these things, but we don't care. Like that's
Okay.
not our goal in this.
Well, that seems a lot simpler than whatever that was, because I was trying to figure out how to plug
Right.
it.
It took me a moment to figure out that that's all we needed, because I don't want to have you do stuff harder than you actually need to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Unfortunately, 7 kind of has to be done by hand. So awful.
Okay.
Oh. It's like a drive to Phoenix. You're just like
Yeah.
in the car, you can't get back. All right. So the non-obvious thing to do here is you multiply the top and bottom by the conjugate.
Okay. That's what I was thinking I would do, but I didn't want to be wrong. So I just,
And then the next part is to actually be able to do it. And on the top, it's what's called difference of squares. Let me try to encode that here. It's a minus b, a plus b. So if you can believe that, see that, go with it, it makes this so much simpler because the product of difference of squares, product of difference of squares is a squared minus b squared, which means you square the first, you square the last, and you subtract. Or you can FOIL. When you FOIL, you get the same result. It's just, that's the shortcut. Would you like me to FOIL or do you want me to use difference of squares?
you can use the difference of squares. It doesn't.
Okay, so the nice thing here is that it becomes square root of 5h plus 1 squared, and the square undoes the square root, minus 1 squared in the numerator.
Okay.
Okay, so it becomes 5h plus 1 when you undo, when the square undoes the square root, 5h plus 1 minus 1. So you've got 5h plus 1 minus 1 all over h square root 5h plus 1 down here. You can see those cancel, limit as h goes to 0. So it becomes limit h goes to 0, 5h over h square root 5h plus 1. The h's cancel.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see you get the limit as h goes to 0, 5 over square root 5h plus 1. And then you are finally ready to put 0 in for h. Like up until now, if you tried to put 0 in for h, and I'll go back to the beginning, you're dividing by 0. You're still dividing by 0. You're still dividing by 0. You're still dividing by 0. But now you are not. So now you actually put that 0 in. So it's 5 over square root 5 times 0 plus 1 plus 1. 5 over square root of 1 plus 1 becomes 5 over 2 like that.
Okay.
There is another way to do this on your calculator. You said you had a calculator.
Mhm.
So you picked values of H closer and closer to 0. So you might try 0.01, 0.0001, and so on. And you'll
Mhm.
eventually see that it becomes 2.5 when you put that in.
Okay.
So sometimes I forget that like there are shortcuts because but I will try to remember if you have more questions. All right, I mean, that is everything you sent over. We got some time left. Is there anything else you would like us to cover today?
Um, Let me see.
You can take a few minutes if you need to.
We can do something like this. Something like that, because we just learned that in the last one. That
Okay.
much time. Yeah.
Yeah, implicit derivatives. No one enjoys this. Yeah, so this one's a really tough one. Like you didn't even pick like, oh, like a little starter one. This is really tough. So that's fine. The first one here is product rule. Second one is product rule. So let's just look at 8x squared y. You have to decide where to split it, and I'll just suggest splitting it right there. So f is 8x squared, g is y. Can you tell me what f prime is?
Yeah, it's 16x.
Good. Now g, the derivative of y, you say, oh, it's like x. So the derivative of y is just 1. But whenever you have a derivative with respect to y, it's dy d.
Yeah.
Okay. So now it's that fg thing. So the derivative of that part is 16x times y plus 8x squared dy dx. Again, you just combine them diagonally and then diagonally. Look that over, see if you have any questions or anything doesn't seem right about that.
Yeah, it's just a product rule, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So if that's okay.
That's good.
So we'll do 5xy squared now. You got to figure again where to split it. I'll suggest right there, f equals 5x, g equals y squared. So why don't you try figuring out f prime and g prime, please?
F prime is just 5, and then G prime, would it be 2 dy dx?
So first of all, just take your derivative. Assume it was like an x squared. What would your derivative be?
It would be 2y.
And then there's always a dy dx that goes along with y.
Okay.
And so again, you combine them diagonally. So it's 5x times 2y dy dx plus 5y squared. but that all goes with, that's why this is kind of a monster problem. It's that all goes with the previous stuff right here.
Okay.
And then there's more, equals the derivative of the right-hand side. And you go all the way back to the original, the right-hand side is 0. So a little break there. So you do want to do a little bit of simplifying here. The first two terms don't have any simplifying. But this becomes 10xy dy dx plus 5y squared equals 0. This is not the answer, but this is, calculus is over.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Uh, you're adding them together.
No,
equals-
we got more to do, but like any
Yeah.
questions I want to put up here? Okay.
No, that makes sense. You're adding them together.
Yeah. So now you move any non-dy dx terms. So anything that doesn't have a dy dx, you move to the other side. So you're going to subtract 16xy. You're going to subtract 5y squared. This is all algebra. There's no calculus. 8x squared dy dx plus 10xy dy dx equals minus 16xy minus 5y squared. So you move any non-dy dx terms. Then you factor out dy dx. Factor out that dy dx from both terms. That's why you move all the non-dy dx terms to the right, because you end up factoring out the ones that
Mm-hmm.
don't have, or that factoring out the ones that do have it. And then you divide both sides by that. And this is one of those problems where you actually wish you didn't have multiple choice, because they could rearrange things here.
Mm-hmm.
And you just need to be on the lookout. Like your order might not be the same. Like they might put the minus 5y squared first, or that 10xy might be first. Or let's just say these were all even, then stuff cancels. I mean, I wish I could say I knew for sure what you were going to get, because then I would tell you how to work it, but I don't. Just be very careful there that you choose the right one, especially after you've gone to all that trouble to do the work correctly.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I mean, that is it. I mean, that's, if you're looking for the answer, that is the answer.
I just put it in. I was making sure I put it in right. It said it was
Good,
right.
yeah,
So
good. Yeah, very easy to mistype it or something.
yeah.
So maybe time for a short question if you got one. You can see this one took a while. These ones do
Yeah.
take a while. And remember, on your test, they're all worth the same. So don't feel like you need to spend all your time on it. They're all the same. So go do the easy ones first.
Okay. Yeah, they give us 2.5 hours. So
Oh boy, a
yeah.
long time to do anything. I mean,
Yeah, it's
I
only
don't even know
30.
if I could sit through a movie that long anymore.
Yeah. I think I'm good though.
All right, let me go ahead and stop the recording here.